Hi, I'm Keith. I've been a leader in youth ministry for 3 years.
I'm Natalie, and I've been a leader for youth ministry for about 2 years.
6 years.
I've been the youth minister here at St. Paul's for 1 year.
My name is Eric. I've been a youth minister now for 7 years. I've been involved in youth ministry for much longer than that, and I've had the blessing of working at Holy Family throughout that time.
At the Office of Catholic Youth, we have obviously been encouraging parishes to look at sustainable youth ministry practices. And one of the key, perhaps best model of ministry we found so far that we're encouraging parishes to look at is what's called the EDGE ministry. EDGE ministry is a ministry that's focused on 11, 12, 13-year-old kids in grades 6, 7, 8, as a great starting point.
Our parish offers EDGE ministry because we see how much of a gift it actually is.
Since we started running EDGE here at St. Paul's, I see kids coming from different schools, different parishes, all coming together, getting to know each other, growing community, and just see kids walk in not knowing anyone, and then 2 weeks later begging their parents to stay behind, and just you see like these friendships grow.
I've seen kids who come to EDGE really start to open up, to build relationships with other kids, to have more concrete connections in a way that sometimes they don't find in the classroom.
As a young kid, I think going to Mass can sometimes feel forced or that there's not really a place here, but when they go to EDGE ministry, they get to meet other people that are the same age as them, and it kind of encourages the youth in our parish to be involved and to want to get to know Christ.
One of the key reasons why we encourage EDGE ministry as a model to start with for 11, 12, 13-year-olds is that we find that there's more of an openness to be able to hear the gospel message, to look at their faith, to look at the role of the church in their lives, and be open to what that might mean for them personally.
I have seen kids who come just to be hanging out with their friends, encounter Christ for the first time, and their lives just completely change direction, where from being in a family that doesn't come to Mass, they're now begging their parents to bring them here. They're coming to daily Mass.
Seeing them just discern any type of religious life. So some of them have discerned priesthood, some of them have discerned like becoming sisters, but honestly, the biggest fruits is just seeing them get involved in the parish, seeing those who never thought they would read at Mass, like being readers for Mass, those who never thought they would sing in the choir, being like the ones to lead the psalms.
They are participating in the life in the church, altar serving, doing all of these things that they never would have without EDGE.
They're learning new stuff. They're learning everything about the church, the Bible, and all of the teachings. Those are the things that we're getting from there after coming out of EDGE.
And the kids just talk about it. Like the next day they go, oh, like we talk about why Jesus folded the cloth. He says, because he's coming back, and they mention the next day again. So they do retain the information, the seeds we're planting.
For my kids, I think it's been beneficial to have a community outside of what happens in the Mass that's related to the Mass. The goal of youth ministry is always to bring youth to an enduring relationship with Jesus in the Eucharist. But if they don't associate that relationship with Jesus in the Eucharist with people who care about them and are willing to play games and ask them about stuff in their life that might be hard or stuff in their life that might be great, if they don't make that connection, we lose them.
I like to think that God is present in our relationships just as much as he is in every other part of our lives. So building those connections with other people in EDGE and Life Team later on, and just youth ministry in general, really helped me connect with my faith by connecting with other people.
You're not just growing in your faith alone. You have people there with you to help you. And if you need someone to talk to, there's a whole bunch of people.
I think it's great for the EDGE participants to see that there's a greater community within the church that's alive, that's young, that's vibrant, that wants to know more about Jesus.
We also look at, for example, the EDGE Camp program. EDGE Camp started in 2009 with 6 or 7 parishes and 130 kids, all coming together to have a summer camp experience, all as an outflow of their EDGE ministries that was happening specifically at their parish.
I started going to EDGE Camp 3 years ago, and I have loved it ever since coming as a youth minister. But I think why EDGE Camp is so important is because, at least for the youth participants here, they only ever get to see the EDGE participants at Merciful Redeemer. But when they're brought to camp, they get to see that there's an even greater community.
When you take an 11, 12, 13-year-old and you drop them in a campground with 200 people their own age and slightly older, who are all on fire for the faith, who are all looking at the same Jesus and trying to live out that life. It is an entirely new world for them.
For many youth, the highlight of Edge Camp ends up being the night where we have adoration and just that extended time of praise and worship and gratitude.
A lot of our Edge participants here, it's their first time ever encountering Christ in such a personal and tangible and beautiful way. And I have gotten, without fail, every single year, a parent that has approached me and said, Danielle, wow, like thank you so much for providing this opportunity for my kids, because I have seen a change within them.
To experience daily Mass, to experience adoration and confession, to have just the sacraments at their fingertips alongside people who have been living that life in their leaders, but other kids their age saying, I'm not alone, you're not weird for doing this, like this is who we are called to be, what we are called to do. There is no better experience you could give a young person in your parish, but to support a ministry where they get to feel like they belong as one part of a giant Catholic family.
Today, those 6 parishes have grown to 31 parishes. Those 150 kids have grown to 550. That is all because of these ministries that have started at a parish and continue to run and affect minds, hearts, and souls today.
Edge Camp specifically helped me in the way I follow Christ because it's a whole completely new experience.
The thing that made Edge Camp so special for me was being able to feel that like Jesus was present the whole time, just seeing how happy everyone was and how faithful everyone was and just like really out there praising God.
It's 5 days where it's just you, God, and people who similarly want to go closer to God. And it's just the way in which everyone encourages each other is just something that you can't find anywhere else.
There's an opportunity to jump off a 60-foot high platform on a zip line and nobody's tearing them down. Everyone is encouraging them that they can do it. And you know, it's great to see them take that leap, literally.
And you can just see how Christ has inspired everyone and how everyone is just being led closer to Christ in that environment. And I would say it's like nothing else I've ever experienced.
Some people have an idea that we should be doing things specifically in high school. The challenge with high school is that a lot of those kids we found, by the time they're in high school, if they've not encountered their faith or they've not been walking and growing with the Lord or growing with their faith, they have decided that either their faith is irrelevant or they're not too sure if following Jesus is worth the risk or worth the time or the effort. And it's just a very challenging process to try to get to them and bring them back into the life of the church.
Now more than ever, teens are really confused, especially getting into the high school age range. So as long as they're solid, they know who they belong to, where they're going and what they're doing, I think that sets the precedent for the future.
These kids are being exposed to things that we would barely have expected teenagers to be exposed to 20, 30 years ago. So if we are not getting in there then, that they know Jesus, that they get to encounter him, that they begin to know the beauty and the truth of the Catholic faith, if we don't get them at that early age, at 11, 12, 13, then you may lose them.
A lot of ways our kids are having to get mature sooner with adult information that's being thrust upon them. What the Edge Ministry does is it allows us to take some of these topics or conversations and break them open in an age-specific way that makes sense to them and helps them navigate what is being thrown at them in their culture today.
It's so important because it's such a formative age for them, because they're hearing so many things from the world, but we just need to create a safe space for them to ask those hard questions and hear authentically what the church has to say.
Information that is coming to our young people, unfortunately, a lot of it is couched in a culture which is very indifferent to the Christian message. What we want to make sure that our younger kids are able to do is they're able to hear what the world is saying and they can look at it through the lens of faith. But that means people to walk with them. That means that they need a church that's willing to share with them what does it mean to be a Christian, what does it mean to be a Catholic, to be able to navigate all these different things that are coming at them in today's culture.
There's nothing that I attribute more to the development of my spiritual life and like knowledge of God and relationship with God than my time in Edge Ministries.
it really changed it from like the church being like a learning place where it's spot like I could learn about God, but it was like where I could truly experience God after I started going to Edge.
Everyone has such a deep desire to get closer with the Lord, and I would say that just really affected me and made me want to grow closer as we learned more about Jesus.
To see these kids who have had no encounter with Christ before go from they're here just with a friend, and that's all they're really here for is a social time, and then to see in an adoration or in a prayer at the end of the night, or from listening to a teaching and breaking it open in small group, to see these kids, their eyes open for the first time, like the veil just drops. They see God for who He is, they experience His love, they start this relationship with Christ, and just to see Christ's transformative grace in action, it is such a unique blessing.
I don't like to say that the youth are the future of the church. I really think that they are the church of today with the leaders of tomorrow, and us as leaders, we're testament to what the church is supposed to be. We're supposed to be apostolic and train the next generation. So youth ministry is really an investment into the future of the church.
You start with the children. The children would be the starting point for us to grow our faith, our beliefs, our practice.
Youth ministry, if you make sure it's being done well and you invest into your youth ministry, the kids will come out catechized, they will come out experiencing the sacraments, and they will come out ready to serve the church.
In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, Jesus tells us of the importance of being prepared for when the thief comes in the middle of the night. What would the master of the house do if he had had that information? We know that in our culture today, there are thieves who come for the hearts, minds, and souls of our kids, the youngest members of our church. Whether it's to rob them of their beliefs, their morality, or their very relationship with Christ, they are coming to steal something from them. As a church, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing with this knowledge? We have to ensure that our younger brothers and sisters are protected, nurtured, valued, loved, and have the full opportunity to understand and experience the incredible love of Jesus Christ in their lives through the Catholic Church. And every parish that offers an Edge ministry seeks to do just that.